Okay, thank you. I don't mean to address this specifically at you, Marco, but that kind of hypothesis, Roland, is supply-side lunacy, isn't it? It's madness, isn't it? It's exactly the kind of thing that you were describing before, that China would very well come along and try to stimulate economies so that they, in the long term, become demanders of its capital goods. That's precisely it, isn't it? China buying its own buyers.
Well, that's right. You know, look, China has built this tremendous economic growth. I mean, from 1979 or 81, when Deng Xiaoping said it didn't matter whether the cat was black or white as long as it caught mice, and he instituted free market capitalism. They built their economy on consumption by other countries, on trade rather, on exporting and building the world's goods. In that process, you know, China was unique in that their population, through cultural issues, I believe, were very good at saving money. Their savings rate was very high. They have a lot of wealth being built and staying in the form of capital. Now, China realizes that with the global downturn, that their exports and that profit machine of sending out goods to the world is going to be impaired. And the natural step, of course, is to develop internally, which is the next and logical step of the evolution of their economy. So they have some insulation, but, you know, let it be known that that doesn't mean they're going to continue 10% growth. My estimation is that if they maintain positive growth over this year, they're going to be fortunate. And that also brings other political issues and civil issues in China, but we'll keep it on in economic discussion.
Well, Roland Amore, if I might be so presumptuous as to turn it slightly cultural, but the culture of economics, if we could, if China is in such a strong position, then surely it's going to look for more of a carve-up that is in its own favor. You suggested at the very beginning of this program that this could very well be the end of the American hegemony so far as economics was concerned. If that is the case, if China does take a more leading role, does that also imply that so far as the world as a whole is concerned, that we'll have a more authoritarian world, based around a mixture of a command economy at the center of things, around which capitalist free markets are allowed to float, rather than free markets at the center of things, which are so deterministic as they have been?
Oh, no, not at all. Look, the genie is out of the bottle. You know, people know that capitalism works. They know the difference between 3% growth and 0.5% growth. So, the people of the world are going to demand models that work. But, let's go back. By the way, I don't find when you have leadership, we add China to the mix and so forth, I don't find that more authoritarian. Actually, I find it just the opposite. But let's look where China is leading in all this. China's got all the elements. I mean, right now it's the world's third largest economy. The one element that they don't have that is going to be the linchpin to their launch to be preeminent, on the road that they're going, is a currency. They've never had a hard currency, okay? And up until like 15 years ago, their currency trading, there was dual trading there. There was the real currency, and then there was the official rate and so forth. Their next logical step is to take the Chinese renminbi, the yuan, and to move it forward and become a world-class currency, to become the competing currency for the U.S., as the world's reserve currency. The euro has tried to make that. However, the problem with the euro is the European socialism model just does not give it the final strength it needs. Look at the financial crisis through this all. Where did all the money come? It came into U.S. Treasury bonds. I mean, you had the 30-year Treasury bond go from an interest rate of almost 4% to 2.5% in 2 weeks period. That was global money coming in. We are the world's reserve currency. China wants to break that hegemony, and that is their next logical step. And if they do that, their foothold in the world's global economy is going to be very strong, and they're going to be the competing entity to the United States at that point, as the rest of the world at this point seems to be losing a little bit of confidence in the economic direction of the U.S. and in general, specifically that of the Obama administration, which looks like a new version of the old new economy that we've tried several times, starting with the New Deal in 1932 and And again, we reinstituted in 1962, and maybe this is our third time to try the failure on it. Third time, maybe a charm. I don't know.
Roland Amoria, I feel like I've been everywhere with you through that answer. Thank you. Very comprehensive. Marco Pietropoli, Roland Amoria alluded there to the fact that the dollar has about 62-63% of foreign currency reserves held in that currency. About 24 to 26% are in euros, and the rest in other currencies, including the yen and the Swiss franc. Do you think that the yuan can break that mold? Does it really have that potential? Does it have the economic heart behind it?
I think it does. I think it does in the long run. In the short run, they would need to actually release it and make it traded properly for it to be a credible reserve currency. But Ronan I made very, very important points there. The viability of the dollar as the world's reserve currency moving forward is under question. How will that affect things? Will we move to a number of different reserve currency, more of a sort of basket approach? There's a number of different ways that this can be looked at, and maybe the world will look at the fact that having everything based on one currency, and it was the pound before the dollar took over, it is perhaps too risky, especially as all commodities are traded in the reserve currency, and therefore that you have exceptional volatility in the commodity markets, which is no good for everyone.
And gentlemen, this is a bit of a hobby horse of mine. I bang on about this from time to time. I'm going to ask you, we talked about a basket of currencies there, Marco. Gold standard, any chance of that making a belated comeback?
I don't think there's enough gold in the world, to be honest, to back everything up. But gold will actually is coming forward and is starting to be recognised again as potentially a reserve currency. There's a number of commentators that have been saying already that it's starting to move into perhaps second position as world reserve currency. It may well take over temporarily from the dollar in the short term as the main reserve currency until we find another system.
I have to stop you there. I'm so sad that I have to do that. Of course, that would be very nice for the United States. It holds the biggest gold reserves in the world. And that was Four Corners. I'd like to thank my guests for their critical thinking and you for your attention. If you've missed any part of the programme or would like to watch again, then please log on to the website where you'll find a selection of all Press TV's output. And the usual email address applies for your correspondence. Four Corners returns again tomorrow. Until then, I've been your host, Shahab Mossavat. From me and all the team here in Tehran, it's goodbye.